Episode 1, the Qatar GP.
If they'd just done a Ferrari and back one driver, all the champagne would be drunk by now, wouldn't it? You know.
Welcome to the Two Mechanics podcast. Kenny Handkammer and Mark Grain have 18 Formula One World Championships between them, have been in the Guinness Book of World Records twice. They have over 30 years of motorsport stories between them, not to mention the 40,000 beers. Cheers. What you say?
So, Ken.
What are we saying?
Well, what do you want to say?
My dear, I mean, I just watched the race that in Qatar, and after watching Saturday, I thought this is going to be terribly, terribly boring and watching paint dry and just dry bread. But obviously, it was a surprise for everybody. You would have never got this down to 12 points between for the end of the championship, and Max being in second place after not the best year he's ever had.
No, I agree. I guess. Firstly, hello to all of our new listeners. This is a brand new venture with myself and my very good friend Kenneth. And yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of things. Talk about the Qatar Grand Prix, as Kenny's just kicked off with, but talk about a lot of stuff. I agree with you. I think it was Qatar. I mean, come on, it's never a riveting motor race, is it? But it was good for motorsport fans and Formula One fans because it means the championship's going to go down to the last race, which everybody loves. You know, all the promoters love it. Formula One love it. The professional rights holder. Yeah, I get biased fans will always want their drivers to win and their favourite team to win. Yeah. But come on, it's fantastic, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Yeah,
the last
fantastic. Race. And the funny thing is McLaren being your old team, F1 team, and Red Bull being my old F1 team, and I'm not biased at all, although I am a fan of Max because I know him personally and I've obviously worked with his dad, etc. But it's been, unbelievable season, and I just can't believe that the McLaren haven't just bagged everything up and been done with it all with the dominance they've had this year.
No,
incredible.
I completely agree. Right, well, my view now. I don't work for that team anymore. Looking from the outside in. I see how you've got to try and play it fair between two drivers, and it was very difficult kind of mid-season to know which one of them was going to come out on top as well, the whole deal. But if they'd have just done a Ferrari and back one driver, all the champagne would be drunk by now, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, and
they'd be done.
They even did it to themselves again today by being the fair team instead of double stacking them or bringing them.
Yeah.
Or splitting them, bringing one in, and yes, that would have been, you could say that's biased, but mate, that's racing, right? The bloke that's in the lead, bring him in. It's clear, it's a safety car. Everybody, every man and his dog. It's just standard.
All you got to do
comes in when they've got that opportunity.
Absolutely, and even if you think you're like, well, we can work something else out. At this point of the championship, just copy your main rival. Whatever they do the same. It's got to be, you're always going to be all right with the points then, aren't you? If you're just doing the same.
If they would have just split them, they would have won the race.
Yeah. Split them. A worst case.
They had the pace, and they could have, like I said, they don't want to favour anybody. Yeah, okay, nice to be fair, but this is motor racing. We know how brutal it is. We know that sometimes you have to do what's right for the team. And in a minute, it's a possibility they're going to lose a drivers' championship, which would be insane to be saying that. It's absolutely mental.
Right. I don't wish it on anybody. And nearly 30 years at McLaren for me, right? So I certainly don't wish that team ill at all. But I'm in a neutral position now. And can you imagine if Max goes on to win this, what that will do for Formula One and for motor racing? It will be It's fairy tale stuff, isn't it? It's
It's what everybody wants, isn't it? The underdog to come through and win.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he's dominated for God knows how
Yeah,
long.
that's it. All of those Hollywood movies that are around sport. It's always the underdog comes through, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And then wins in the last, the last shot in basketball or whatever, whatever it may be, with the clock counting down. I mean, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, if this was to happen, it'd be probably better than that F1 film that I've not seen yet.
I need to get around to doing that.
No, I heard it was going to be too cringy, so I couldn't even go there.
Do you know what that was?
Looked too cringy.
That was my bit. And I did a little bit, a tiny bit on it, but that was not when they were filming, just to do the driver coaching. And I just got involved in that for a couple of days at Silverstone, and I know people that were involved in it and running the cars and all of that stuff. And yeah, they've spoken highly about it. But yeah, coming back to this race, I don't know, man.
I think it was clear that Antonelli done the Mercedes card, didn't he, and let Norris through for 2 points.
That looked a bit obvious to me, and everybody that's listening should know this is hot off the press, right? Ken and I have just jumped on this call straight after, and that's something that we're keen to keep doing with all of our future podcasts, right? So,
not even had a beer.
I know. I'm gasping.
It's a bit early for me.
It's true.
I'll catch up. Don't worry. So I think the other amazing drive this weekend, and I'm still gobsmacked that they were so good all weekend that it ended up like this, was Williams, Sainz and Williams.
So,
fantastic form, and I'm a huge fan, always have been.
Yeah,
and it's lovely to see Williams do it, and as you know, I think as one of your old teams as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I was just about to say, Ken, that if I'm biased towards anybody these days, it's towards Williams. It's the anniversary of Frank's death, I think, this weekend. Frank was a great boss, right? And everybody knows Frank's story, how he ran a Formula One team out of a wheelchair and what he did. It was a great boss to have. It really was.
I think we should do a separate segment on that, because I've got a few stories when he used to come down and congratulate us, etc., which he didn't need to do. Got wheeled in. But yeah, getting back to the race, Williams, Sainz, fantastic. I can't imagine that, how happy he is that he didn't stay at Ferrari, because we know what mess they are. Another dreadful weekend for them. I mean, they're embarrassing.
I mean, when you look at Carlos, and more recently, I've been doing some work with Carlos's dad, with Carlos Senior, and he's a great guy. So, but when you look at what potentially would have, it looked like, Carlos was getting booted out, and oh man, and now it's
terrible, wasn't it?
With his career, was all of that, and look now.
And he probably almost outperformed Leclerc in the last season, which was even worse, And so
it was only really that because Carlos was at McLaren when I was still doing McLaren Formula One, and it was only that lure of Ferrari, right? It was that he just couldn't turn it down when he's got a whole Latin thing going on, and he couldn't resist it.
Well, everybody thinks they can do a Schumacher, don't they? Which very, very different team, very different British structure.
Oh man,
to say the least.
Yeah.
And engineers, etc. So I think until they change that.
But look at and when you look at right, so the senior technical guy there is Pat Fry, who's obviously, and for everybody listening, that Pat is an old friend of Kenny and I. We've worked with him both in Benetton and at McLaren and so on. So we've both known Pat for many years. And the other guy that's senior there that just gets shit done is Dave Redding, Otis, another good friend to myself and Kenny. And they're just organised, and they're just super competitive guys. So I'm really pleased for them to be, troubling the podium again like they are doing. And like I say, one of my old teams, and I've got friends still at Williams that go back to the early 90s when I was working there, that are still working and still very loyal to that team. So Yeah,
Yeah.
that if I celebrate anything when I go to the pub this evening, it's going to be celebrating a
Yeah.
podium for Williams, I would say.
I'd hold a glass to that as well. And I've got lots. When it was the Schumacher Hill days, very competitive. We were in garages next to each other.
Yeah.
Friends that we worked together in Formula 3000 and came into F1 together. Still friends for 40 years nearly. People like
That's right. So you were
West, Paul
GA,
West,
weren't you?
etc., and Bob
Yeah,
Davis.
Westy,
We
yeah.
were all at GA 3000 together with
GA, that was
Collier.
it. Yeah.
So forever friends. Don't hold any grudges. Um, and that will be another segment. But anyway, let's go through to the rest of the race. I was surprised that we didn't get a safety car with 10 laps to go because it got so frantic, and the drivers must have been hanging with their necks in pain, and that late into the race. I was surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a couple of incidents, but I think maybe McLaren was holding out for something like that to happen, and I think if that would have happened, they would have.
And I don't know. I mean, again, we can all be pit wall heroes from the sofa. I get it, but honestly, when you're fighting for a world championship and the races are ticking down to the last one, you
I
can't.
also feel
I don't see how you can sit. I don't see how you can see a race through with and hoping out for a safety car. That's not a strategy.
no true. I feel sorry for Oscar because he's obviously a very intelligent driver, and I thought it was quite strange that it was him that made the call to come in rather than it coming from the pit wall. Because I think if they would have brought him in later, he would have been even further behind.
Yeah.
Because he would have had more traffic, etc. I think it would have been much messier and harder for him. So I think
He sounded pretty. He sounded pretty pissed off,
and reading the race.
Yeah,
which that should have come from the pit wall really, and the pit wall obviously has made a few errors this year, not just this year, but yeah.
It didn't look like the McLaren really came alive on the hard tyre at the end either, did it?
What were they thinking of? Hard tyre?
I just assumed it's going to be the soft tyre and let them go. I mean, yeah, these teams, right? You and I both know the amount of data that they would have accrued and the simulations and everything go on. And, for all that you and I know that McLaren's data might have told them that you put the softs on and it'll be finished in 9 laps. I don't know. So therefore they were worried they weren't going to make it to the end, or it'd be just off a cliff or something like that. So they went on a hard tyre, but it just looked to me like the McLaren didn't come alive on the hard tyre at all. Whereas the Red Bull obviously was,
especially awesome. being so dominant on Saturday. They just didn't. They disappeared on Saturday.
Yeah.
And yes, I guess if that pit stop wouldn't have happened, it would have been a different race. It would have been incredibly boring, probably, and they would have walked away. But it's just, it's a hell of a turnaround for Max. Fair play to him. I mean, he is the one that drains everything out of every other driver, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I remember. Again, I was still at McLaren at the time, and I was on a race weekend. I was in what they call mission control, right back in Woking, back in MTC, and I remember the race in Austin that year, and I honestly can't remember who it was, but he went up into turn one, up that steep hill, and then you've got that 90 left at the top, and he drove around the outside. I can't remember who it was. Might have even been his teammate, which I think was Carlos, wasn't it? So, he drove around the outside, and I said to the other guys in mission control, I said, if your eyes are open, you've just seen something special today. This was his first season. Was his first race like at Spa or something like that? It wasn't the first race of the season, was it? I can't remember. But so anyway, he wasn't many races even into his Formula One career, and he pulled this maneuver off, and I was like, I've just seen the future. It was.
And Brazil was the same, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, so many special performances from
But
Max. I mean, he's just, you know, you and I have been lucky enough to work with some of the absolute best, some of the fantastic drivers, and I really hope the mechanics on his car, the engineers and everybody, all the garage support, the guys that, you know, are dedicated to him, doing his tires and all of that, everybody at Milton Keynes and all the rest of it. I really hope they appreciate what a special talent he is, and what a privilege and what a joy it is working with the absolute best, because it just, you know, and like
and
Laura talked about earlier, it's fairy tale stuff, isn't it? Can imagine, you know, you're
yeah,
4 races into this season, you'd have been like, oh wow, this is going to be a long slog,
yeah.
and now look how fantastic.
And I know he gets a lot of flack, a lot of criticism for the way he's with the press, etc. But I spent time with him last year at the 20th um, anniversary of Red Bull.
Ah, yeah, yeah. You
Um,
can,
for
yeah,
that, and it was like, oh, great, Kenny's here, and we just chatted. I
yeah,
think he remembered me when I put him in when he was like 2 years old, sat him in Benetton, Michael Schumacher's Benetton.
yeah,
And we chatted for ages. Spoke to his girlfriend, obviously Kelly, and because I was the last person to strap Nelson PK in
yes,
one car for some strange reason. I wasn't his mechanic, but anyway, at the time I was on Nanini's car. But yeah, so we had some nice conversations and stuff. And he is a lovely bloke. I mean, he has got a heart of gold. He does a lot of stuff for charity. He does a lot of stuff that people don't see. And fair play to him. But going into the next race, it's still going to be tough, right? I mean, 12 points
all
is
right,
quite a lot.
12 points, 12-point gap,
I
so
haven't done
that's,
maths on
you
any
know,
of that yet.
that's tricky, but
But it's been an unbelievable year this year, and as we know, anything can happen because mid-season, we wouldn't be talking about this. Where the
no,
dominance of McLaren, and they've done a fantastic job. So no disrespect to
no,
the performance
no,
of
I
Bob
just, I
Marshall,
just,
who's design technical. I don't know if he's technical director, but or chief designer. He's a very good
yeah.
friend. We worked together at Red Bull and Benetton Renault together. Fantastic designer, engineer, very creative. And
No, there's Pete Padrumu at McLaren, who sails very much under the radar. You worked with Pete, didn't you, at Red Bull, I think,
yeah,
Kenny?
yeah,
And personally, I think Pete Padrumu is one of the best aerodynamicists, certainly in the pit lane right now, certainly in the paddock right now. But you know, for a long time, I think Pete's very,
yeah,
very
Peter
talented.
Pod, yeah, yeah,
And yeah,
lovely bloke
and
as well.
yeah, exactly, a great bloke, and um. I'm really pleased for him. You know, I, I remember for a long time at McLaren, he was kind of sidelined, and I didn't understand it. He used to sit at a desk just kind of around the corner from me, and I'm like, you know, why isn't Pete more involved in there? And all of a sudden, Pete he comes back into you know, like the forefront there, and all of a sudden, McLaren cars start going faster. So I'm
Yeah,
sure a chunk of this, sure a chunk of this is down to Pete, and I think he's a very talented.
I think between Pete and Rob Marshall, I think they've been
Yeah,
the big
exactly.
influences. I think
Yeah,
McLaren definitely turned around shortly after Rob got there. They made that big leap forward.
yeah.
I'm not saying it's all him, but he was, he's so good. Another amazing character as well. So,
Mm.
but I just, I think it's all pit wall decisions. The car's quick, the drivers are quick. They've made some really bad errors this year. They've this whole thing of the driver. They don't want to be
Yeah,
the team to
again,
blame, favouring.
you know, I think about it, and part of their problem was, or is still, and it's still going to be a problem until the flag drops in Abu Dhabi, checkered flag there, right? Is because their own two drivers have been so close. That's a proper challenge to pick one, because you're going in the next race and those tiny margins would be in favour of the other driver, and then it'd go to the next one, and then he's back. It'd be Oscar.
This whole swapping. Oh yeah, well he did this for you last week, so you need to do this from this week. It's
yeah, that's start of trouble. I think they should have. You've got to. I don't know how you can manage a situation like that between ultra competitive race car drivers and ultra competitive engineers and the mechanics and everybody that's involved. Right, like I was talking about. That's a dangerous game. I mean, the Ferrari model, shall we call it? That was. Everybody knows that was contracted number one driver, number two driver, so it's a very, very easy situation to manage.
Yeah, look at Schumacher.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, Michael had that status, but at the same time, Michael was this ultra talent, wasn't he? So
he was
again,
Max, isn't it? It's Max again,
yeah,
right?
precisely. I mean, Michael, controversial figure, just like Max. But I mean, you worked with Michael.
Yeah, for 5 years.
Yeah, so you know how he wrapped a team around him, and very, very popular with his team, with his mechanics, with his engineers, and everything. The whole team would literally get behind him because he was very adept at getting those people on board and being a leader.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
but if you look at, we can also do another piece or another time about the Red Bull, Mark Webber, Vettel scenarios and stuff like that. I mean, the bloke that won it in the end was the most ruthless.
Yes,
and that was Seb. Multi 21. He was like, "Fuck it, not doing it."
oh, yeah.
I'm winning the race. I'm here as a racing driver to win the race. Too nice doesn't get you anywhere. We know how Formula One is ultra competitive, but also ultra ruthless, and it always has been, and it always will be. All this being Mr. Nice has actually ended up putting McLaren in a really bad spot.
Yeah, exactly. Can you? I mean, just imagine if they don't win it. And we can all talk about constructors' championships and go back to my old boss Frank, right? Frank always used to say to us all, he'd gather us all in the race bays. This is at the Didcot factory, right? And Frank would always say, right, drivers' championships are for drivers, constructors, that's for us. Let's win that constructors. Let's make sure we get that. Yeah,
that's where his cash was. That's why.
And of course, yeah.
Frank was like that money.
Well, yeah, we all know Frank was careful. Right? But yeah, and it's right. So that is for the teams. However, the world doesn't care about constructors, do they? The world doesn't care. The world only cares about drivers. So this would be disaster for McLaren if they don't win it. It would be absolute disaster. And Ken, don't forget, 2026, massive regulation change.
Yeah.
Who knows what team is going to run at the front there? I mean, I wouldn't bet against Adrian.
With Adrian.
Yeah, exactly. And again, for anybody that's listening here, Kenny and I both work with and for Adrian, and he is absolutely one of the most competitive people I've ever come across in my life. And he costs you sleep. When you work for Adrian, you don't tend to get much sleep, but he's fantastic.
Yeah. I saw him a couple of years ago. I think it's in Monaco or somewhere, and he said, "You wouldn't enjoy it now." He said, "We can't do what we used to do at the track. You wouldn't, he'd have us making, new brake ducts at the track, But he'd come in and say, "Oh, here you go. I need them to be this bigger," and he'd had some dodgy sketch, and he'd leave it with you. And then he'd disappear, and then you'd work all night, still be there in the morning.
Yeah.
And I won the car.
I did it
9 times out of 10 you go out and win.
McLaren, working with him, and I remember. Well, actually, both times, even with two different teams, by coincidence, it was testing at Paul Ricard, and we were just there. I do remember going back to the hotel for a little while, but I can't remember exactly how long it was. But
But they don't do that anymore, do they?
No, they don't.
Garage doors down at 6:30, and they're out. I mean, those days, I can't imagine doing that. We didn't get a job list till 6:30, and then it was 8 hours work.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
for another
Yeah.
another story. We can lot to talk about. I hope our listeners are going to enjoy it. We're going to be going backwards and forwards, and let's have a look at what's going to happen next week.
I really hope our listeners get to enjoy this, get to like this. I hope the word spreads around. I think for those who are listening, for us to have started this, it's been a long held ambition with myself and Kenny. We've been between us. I wouldn't even like to think how many years of experience and all the different categories of racing that we've both worked in, and all those great races. But what we want to do is we want to share those experiences. We want to make those available. Ken's written a book, so there'll be plenty of talk about extracts from that.
Well, it's not quite written yet. It's back in negotiations for a co-writer.
Okay. And that's something that I'm equally keen to get done and get some stuff down on paper. But this is something that we can do here and now. We can share a lot of our stories, and of course we're coming in at potentially one of the most exciting ends of a season for many years. So hopefully we can pass on some insights and tell you what's happening and what you've seen on the TV and what our take on it all is.
We'll be having guests as well, won't we? We'll be having guests.
Absolutely.
And we don't not all the Hollywood guests either. There'll be people that used to be, worked on Ayrton Senna's car, for instance, and give us an insight to some great drivers. There'll be support crew, possibly some engineers and etc. So we've got some interesting, diverse guests that will be different than any other podcast. Yeah,
absolutely. I'll just reinforce that. We've already lined up many guests with a lot of exclusivity, people who have in the past had access to the real top levels in lots of different categories, but obviously predominantly Formula One. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that you won't have heard before or read about before. So exciting stuff. We're both very keen to get cracked on.
Yeah, exciting times ahead, and let's hope we can just keep it going. And yeah, whatever happens, I think we're going to enjoy our conversations between us anyway, reminiscing and going backwards and forwards. So me now living in the US, time difference is a little bit tricky, etc. But I'm sure we can make it work.
That's the biggest challenge. So again, for everybody's benefit, I'm in the UK, and Ken's out on the West Coast, living the life of Riley in California and all that sunshine. So, whereas I still get rain down the back of my collar.
Okay, well, I think we're coming to a close, aren't we?
We are indeed. So thank you everybody for listening, and yeah. So Ken, I hope you enjoy your beer later today, and
I'm going to go later actually.
No.
I mean, it's 10:10. Come on, it's getting close.
Oh,
AM, that is.
AM, in the AM, yes.
Okay.
Right, well, thank you very much. And
See you next week.
Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.